Welcome to the Math Record. Today we'll be tackling the math section of the third and final SAT practice exam. A copy of this exam along with several others will be in the description below. As I said in the past two videos, I recommend answering these questions before you watch this video, but if you want to just follow along and take notes, that's fine too. Anyways, let's continue on to the purpose of the video. The non-calculator section. As I said before, the formulas are down here in the bottom if you ever need to use them. A painter with paint N walls will paint N walls with the same size and shape in a building using a specific brand of paint. The painter's fee can be calculated by the expression NK, where where NK, LH, where N is the number of walls, K is the constant with units of $N per square foot. L is the length of the wall in feet, and H is the height of the wall in feet. If the customer asks the painter to use a more expensive brand of paint, which the factors would change? A more expensive brand of paint. So we gotta find out what each variable means. So paint end walls. So no, end walls is different. L and K measures the feet, so it doesn't. So K is the variable that's changing. So the answer is C, because that's is the constant, then the units of dollars per square feet calculates for the cost of the paint. So if you're using a more expensive paint, then it's just more money. So that's the first question. Pretty simple. Just interpreting variables. If 3r is equal to 15, what's the value of 6r plus 3? So 3r equals 18. That means r is equal to 6. So 6r plus 3 is just 6 times 6 plus 3, which is 36. The answer plus 3 is 39. So the answer is D. This is just a basic variable question. So number 3. Which of the following is equivalent to A to the power of 2/3 for all values of A? We just gotta look for the value. So so answer A is A to the 1/3. Square root is the same thing as to the power 1/2. So you gotta multiply those together. So the first answer is A over 1/6, which is not the same thing. The second answer is A to the power 3 times 1/2, which is A to the power of 3/2, which is also not the same thing. So A is wrong, and B is also wrong. Now go with C, which is just A to the power 1/2 times 1/3. This is the cube root, so that's A to the 1/6, which is also incorrect. And D is A to the power of 2 times 1/3, which equals to A 2/3, which is correct. So the answer is D. Pretty basic question, but you have to go through all the answers to make sure you're right. A faster way would be like just to think about which one's the radical and which one is not. So usually, let's say you have variable A, right? And you have the numerator, and to the power of this, this might look off. Okay, let me do this again. N over D, the power of n divided by D. Then what this is the same thing as A to the n square root D. So that's why any square root is like the square root like A and B, like it's just square root. It's just a 2. Cube roots are 3, so that's why D would be 2 then. And for square roots you don't have to write the 2, so that's the reason. Anyways, a pretty basic radical question. Question 4. The number of states that joined the United States between 1776 and 1849 is twice the number of states that joined between 1850 and 1900. If 30 states joined between 1776 and 1849, and X states joined between 1850 and 1900, which of the following statements is true? So they said the number of states that joined from 1776 and 1889, we'll just represent that as variable A, is twice the amount of states between 1850 and 1900. So let's say that 1850 to 1900 is B. So this equation has to be true. So if they say 1776 and 1849 is 30, then B would be the 15, because based on the equation, because 15 times 2 equals 30. So which of the following is true? So, uh, oh wait, an XH joins between 1885. So, sorry, they already used a variable. So their variable in the equation would be X, which is equal to B. So is A equals 2X. So A is already 30, so 30 equals 2X. So the number, um, answer, uh, A would be correct, because it's 2X is equal to 30, which is the same thing as what I wrote in here. So the answer is B. Pretty basic geometry question. I mean, not geometry question. Interpretation of like the question. If 5 divided by x is equal to 15 divided by x plus 3, what is 5x divided by 5? Okay, what I noticed from this question is that 5 to 15 is just 5 times 3. So if I multiply 5 over x times 3 over 3, we get 15 over 3x. So 15 over 3x has to be the same thing as 15 over x plus 20. So 3x equals x plus 20. So you minus x from both sides, so that's 2x equals 20, so x is equal to 10. So x over 5 would be the same thing as 2. The answer is C. Pretty basic question, just dealing with equations. Question 6. 2x minus 3y is equal to negative 14, and 3x minus 2y is equal to negative 6. If xy is a solution to the system equations above, what's the value of x minus y? Okay, first we want to multiply the first equation by the constant from the other equation, because you see that both of the variable x's are positive and both of the variable x of y are negative, so I can't just add them together to cancel each other out. So I'll multiply the first equation by 3, because the second equation has 3x, and I want to cancel out the variable x. So that will make 6x minus 9y is equal to negative 42. And I'll multiply the second equation by 2, because the first equation has 2x. So that'll get 6x minus 4y is equal to negative 12. And now I'll subtract equation 1 by equation 2. So that will be negative 6x minus 6x is 0. Negative 9y minus negative 4y is negative 5y. And negative 42 minus negative 12 is negative 30. So y is equal to 6. Now plug in y is equal to 6 on the first equation. That'll be 2x minus 18 is equal to negative 14. So x has to be equal to 2. So the answer is 2 comma 6. So x minus y will equal to negative 4. So the answer is C. Pretty basic system equation question. It could be easier. Usually the SAT uses a positive and negative on one side, so like there will be a negative y and then negative and a positive x, or like a negative x and a positive y, a negative x and a positive x. But since they're both negative, you have to use this method. The function f, question 7. The function f is defined by a polynomial. Some of the values of x and fx are shown in the table above, which of the following must be a factor of x. Okay, a factor of x means that if you plug in, let's say, value a into the equation, the output has to be 0. So what it's telling me from based on the chart, f of x when it's 0 is when x is equal to 4. So the factor has to be x minus a. So since the a is equal to 4, that means the factor is x minus 4. So the answer is C. If you don't know it, it's just a pre-calculus uh, question, but it's a really basic one. So it's a little bit of high school material. Um, the line y equals kx plus 4, where k is constant, is graphed in the xy plane. If a line contains the point CD, where c is not equal to 0 and d is not equal to 0, what's the slope of lines in term of c and d? So we need to find k. What does k equal? So um, so it goes through point CD, right? So y is equal to d, and x is equal to c plus 4. So we need to find k. So it will be d minus 4 divided by c is equal to k. So the answer would be A. Pretty basic question. Just ask you to rewrite equations. In the system of equations above, k is a constant and x and y are variables. For what value of k would the system equation have no solution? Okay, it will have no solutions if like both the constants in front of the equation of the x and y's are the same, but the right side has like different numbers. So since there's a 5 and a 3 in the y's on one equations, like I did before in question 6, I'll multiply the first equation by 5. Now I could get it to like have similar terms. So it'll be 5kx minus 15y is equal to 20. And I'll multiply the second equation by 3. So it makes 12x minus 15y is equal to 21. So 21 and 20 is already different, so that's one part checked. Now I just need to make the right side equal to each other, but the left side has to be different. So the left side is good. I mean, the right side is good. I just need to make the left side equal to each other. So the already negative 15 for y is the same, so I just need to make 5k is equal to 12. So k is equal to 12 over 5. So the answer is A. Question 10. If the xy plane, the parabola with equation y is equal to x minus 11 squared intersects the line where y is equal to 25 at 2 points, A and B, what's the length of A and B? Okay, so it intersects the line at 25, so 25 is equal to x minus 11 squared. When you square root a positive number, there's actually two possible answers. There is the positive version, which is 5, and the negative version, negative 5. So both of them would be equal to x minus 11. Just think about it. If you square both sides, that'll make 25, and that'll be 11 minus 11, x minus 11 squared. If you square 5, that'll be 25 is x minus 11 squared. So they're both equal to the first equation. So the first answer would be 11 plus 5, so x is equal to 16. And the second one would be 11 minus 5, which is equal to x is 6. The answer is x equals 6 and x equals 16. So the length between them is 16 minus 6, which is equal to 10. So the answer is A. Okay, question 11. In the figure above, lines K, L, and M intersect at a point. If x plus y equals u plus v, u plus w, which of the following must be true? X is equal to z, uh, y is equal to w, and z is equal to t. Let's go through each one. So this one's just a basic graph interpretation question. So x is equal to z. If x plus y equals u plus v, that doesn't really tell us anything. So x is equal to z. It's pretty dubious. I don't think that's true. There's nothing that could prove that. Y is equal to w. That's the same case as x is equal to z, so I can't really prove it. And z is equal to t. I can't prove that either, so let me check this first. X plus y is equal to u plus w. So we're saying these two angles are exactly the same. So, okay, so z does equal t. So what, because like this is a line that goes straight through. Wait, uh, x plus y equals u plus w. Okay, okay, what this equation is telling us is that this line M cuts through x and t, like making equal angles. So that means W has to equal x, and U has to equal a V, and T has to equal Z. So 3 has to be correct because Z is equal to T. Y is equal to W, which is not, which I don't think it's true. And X is equal to Z, which which is true because it's right across from each other right here, and the line M kind of splits them apart. So if these two are the same thing as this and this, then these two has to be the same thing. That means these two has to be the same. So the answer is B. Pretty easy. It might be take a while, so it's one of the harder geometry questions. It's more of a proof than actually answering, so it just tests your knowledge. Question 12. In the quadratic equation above, a is a non-zero constant. The graph of in the equation in the xy plane is a parabola with vertex CD, which the following is equal to D. So it's just a parabola question. So we just have to find, it has vertex CD. So we'll plug in C into X. Um, uh, so we plug in C into X, we'll get A, C minus 2, and C minus C plus 4 is equal to, D. Oops. Does that tell us anything? Oh, sorry, it doesn't tell us anything. So, the sh- the vertex form of a parabola is usually just a x minus the vertex. So let's say in this case is c plus the y version plus the y coordinate at the vertex, which is d. So this version has to be the same thing as this version. So we had to find d. So we're gonna have to look for that constant term. So if you expand this out, it would be y is equal to a x squared minus 2cx plus c squared plus d. So the constant term would just be a c squared plus d. So those are the two constant terms. And the constant term in this, if you expand that out, would be negative 8a. So the answer is B. Wait, no. We need to find. I mean, yeah, because the constant term. I mean, not the answer is B. I forgot. A c squared plus d is equal to negative 8a. So we need to find out what a c squared is because we need to take that out. So we don't know what our term for the x squared term is. But we know this term, which has to be, so it'll be a negative a 2cx has to be same thing as so x times 4 is 4x, and x times -2 is -2x, so that would make 2x times a, which would be 2xa. So it would just be 2a because I didn't write the x here in the first one here, so I don't have to write it here. So technically, if you divide by 2a from both sides, you get negative c is equal to 1. So c is equal to -1. So c squared here would just be the same thing as a plus d is equal to 8a. So d would be the same thing as, negative 8a. So minus a from both sides is negative 9a. So the answer is A. This is a really tricky question, so you might get this one wrong, as shown on like how I got it wrong the first time, because I didn't do the question the entire time. I didn't finish the question. Question 13. The equation 24x squared plus 25x minus 47 divided by 8x minus 2 is equal to negative 8x minus 3 minus 53 over 8x minus 2 is true for all values of x is not equal to 2 over a. Where a is a constant. What is the value of a? So we gotta find out how to do this. So the first, since these equations are the same as both sides, if I multiply the first equation by ax minus 2, then the other side has to be multiplied by ax minus 2. So let's, so we have negative 8x minus 3y times ax minus 2. So that'll give me negative 8x a 8xa plus 16x negative 3ax, and then plus 6. And then ax minus 2 times 53 over ax minus 2 is just negative 53. So minus 53. So overall, that was just negative 53 plus 6 is negative 47. Okay, so this equation has to be equal to the same thing as 24x squared plus 25x minus 47. The negative 47 is already the same. So 16 minus 3a is equal to 25. So minus 16 both sides, you get negative 3a is equal to 9. So a is equal to negative 3. Which makes sense because negative 3 times negative 8 is 24. The answer is B. So 13 is B. A faster way to do this would be there's a thing in if you learn pre-calculus, then all you need to do is that you see a 24 on the first equation. So you just divide that by the coefficient of the linear one, which is negative 8, which gets you negative 3. So the answer is also just that fast if you want to do it the faster method. This usually works all the time. I think there might be some exceptions, but I've never seen a lot of them. What are the solutions to ax squared plus 12x plus 6 is equal to 0? So 3x squared plus 12x plus 6 is equal to 0. So divide by 3 because every single term is divisible by 3. So that's x squared plus 4x plus 2 is equal to 0. So let's just use the quadratic formula, which is negative b, so it's negative 4, plus or minus b squared, which is 4, so that's 16, minus 4ac, minus 4. A is 1, and c is 2, all over 2a, so 2 times 1. So the answer is negative 4 plus or minus, that's 8, so that's square root 8. Square root 8 is the same thing as 2 square root 2 divided by 2. So the answers are negative 2 plus and minus square root 2. So the answer is A. Pretty simple quadratic question if you just know your quadratic formula. There is another way called using completing the square, but it takes too long and you probably don't want to use that way. So should just know your quadratic formula and you should be able to solve this question pretty easily. The equation above shows how a temperature Fahrenheit measured in degrees uh, F measured in degrees Fahrenheit relates to a temperature C measured in degrees Celsius. Based on the equation, which of the following must be true? A temperature increase of 1 degrees Fahrenheit is equivalent to a temperature of increase of 5 degrees Celsius. So 1 is true because you can see it in the slope. So if F increased by 1 every single time, so like 1 to 2 to 3, then 5/9 increased by 5/9. So 1 is true. Now 2, a temperature increase of 1 degree Celsius equivalent to a temperature increase in 1.8 degrees Fahrenheit. That is not true because that contradicts what we just said in 1. Because 1.8 is just 9 over 5 when it's really when it's in reality 5 over 9. So 2 is not true. A temperature increase of 5/9 degrees Fahrenheit is equivalent to 1 degrees Celsius. Um, that is also not true because let's say you have 1 and then 1 and 5 or 9. Just because the Fahrenheit increased by 5 or 9 doesn't mean the Celsius increased by 5 or 9. The slope is telling us that if F increased by 1, then Celsius increased by 5 or 9. So that's also incorrect. So the only one correct is 1. So the answer is A. I mean, wait. A temperature increase of 1 degree Celsius is equivalent to temperature degrees in. Oh, sorry. I read the question wrong. I read the question wrong for 2. I mean, the answer wrong for 2. 2 is actually correct, and 3 is incorrect. Because this one is talking conversion from Fahrenheit to Celsius, and this one's talking about Celsius to Fahrenheit. So if F increased by 1, then you gotta if Celsius increased by 1, then you gotta inverse the slope, which is 9 over 5, which is 1.8. So yes, 2 is true. So the answer is D. Sorry about that. Now we're done with all the multiple choice. Let's go to the free response. If x is greater than 0, what is one possible solution to the equation above? First we want to put them all together. So x to the cube times x squared is x to the 5. And x cubed minus times negative 5 is negative 5x cubed. And I'll add plus 4x to the other side. So they're all together. Now let's distribute out the x. So that's x to the 4 minus 5x squared plus 4 is equal to 0. So what multiplies to 4 but adds up to negative 5? So the only one is x squared minus 1 and x squared minus 4. So in this answer, this could be split up to x minus 1 times x plus 1. And this one could be x plus 2 and x minus 2. So since x has to be greater than 0, that means it has to be positive. So the answer is 1, negative 2, and 2. Since it can't be these answers because they're negative, so the only answers is either 1 or 2. So choose 1 or 2 and you'll be correct. This is a simplifying rationals question. Well, simplifying variables question. I'm not exactly what's the correct term, but basically that's what it is. So if 7 over 9x minus 4 over 9x is equal to 1/4 plus 5/9, what is the value of x? Okay, let's simplify the left side first. So 7 over 9th minus 4 over 9th is 3 over 9th. X is equal to, let's simplify the right side now. So if you multiply 1/4 by 3, that would just be 3 over 12, which is the same thing as 1 over 4th, plus 5 over 12. So simplifying this, that'll be 1/3 x is equal to 8 over 12. So multiply by 3 by both sides, and you get 8 over 4, which is the same thing as 2. So x is equal to 2. Basic equation question. The figure is not drawn to scale. If two isosceles triangles are drawn above, if the values of if 180 minus z is equal to 2y, and y is equal to 75, what's the value of x? So let's draw the picture out first. So we have one isosceles triangle and we have another isosceles triangle. Okay. So y is 75. So this 75. So based on the equation, y is equal to 75. So the right side is 150. So 180 minus 150 is 30. So z equals 30 degrees. So since this is an isosceles triangle, each of these triangles has to be the exact same angle. So this has to be 75 degrees and this has to be 75 degrees because they all had to add up to 180. So if this is 75 degrees, that means the other side has to be 105 because this is a straight line. So 105 plus 75 is 180. So the answer is 105. Basic geometry question. If you just know your properties of isosceles, then you're fine. Question 20. At a lunch stand, each hamburger has 50 more calories than each order of fries. If 2 hamburgers and 3 orders of fries have a total of 170 calories, how many calories does a hamburger have? So let's say a hamburger is 50 more calories than fries. So fries is F plus 50. So 2 hamburgers plus 3 fries is equal to 1,700 calories. So plug in for H, F plus 50, so that's 2F plus 100 plus 3F is equal to 1,700. So that would be 5F is equal to 1,600. So F is equal to 3, which is 15, 10, so 320. So F is 3, so a fries is 320 calories. So hamburgers is just 50 more than that. So the answer is 370. So this would be the answer. Okay? Pretty basic question. Just developing your own equation based on the literal words here. Question 20, the last one. The last question. In triangle ABC, the angle of B is 90. Okay, let's draw the picture out first. Whenever they give you a triangle, I feel like you should always draw a picture. So angle B is 90 degrees, so it's a right triangle. And angle and let's just label the other points. Let's say this is A and we'll say this one's C. So BC is 16 and AC is 20. Triangle DEF is similar to ABC, where verticals DEF corresponds to angle ABC respectively, and each side of a triangle is 1/3 the length of the triangle of ABC. So what's the value of sine F? So we need to find out what this value is. So we could use the Pythagorean theorem because this is a right triangle. So 16 squared plus x squared is equal to 20 squared. So that would be the same. So this would be x squared is equal to 400 because 20 squared is 400. And 16 squared is 256, I think. Um, so that will make 144. So 144 is just 12 squared. So x is equal to 12. So we had to look for angle F. F corresponds with C is base when you're given from 20. Since they're similar triangles, that means the sine has to be the same. So sine of angle C is 12 over 20. So that simplifies to 3 all over 5. So the answer is 3 over 5. Pretty basic. So this has to do with like trick questions. Even though I use like geometry also. So based on everything, let's review. All the free response should be pretty easy. So They should take you about, except for like maybe 20 and 19, like all of them do not take that much time, and maybe 16. So it should, so 17 and 18 should take you about a minute or so, and even less. 16, 19, and 20 may take you a minute or so. 15 might take you a while, as shown because I got it wrong the first time also. So you have to read this correctly. So it's just mostly reading it right. So it's not that hard. So like a minute or so. Um, 13 and 14 are pretty basic. If you just know your formulas and stuff, you're basically good. So it's like a minute or less. 12 is a little bit tricky. So you wanna maybe do this. You might want to come back to this one later. So this might take a minute or two. 11 is the same concept. It's just pretty tricky. So you just understand. Just read this a couple of times and you get it right. So that's like a minute or two or maybe three. 9 and 10 are pretty basic. It shouldn't be that long. It's like less than a minute or so. Uh, 8 is pretty basic also. Any system equations are pretty basic. So 6 should be like, so 5, 6, and 8 should be like a minute or so. 7 you might not know because if you never took pre-calc and you don't know what it means for a factor for these. But always just look for the number that's a 0 for f of x. Then you find out like the value. Don't like reread it the wrong way because like at least you think like x equals 0, then you choose like this answer like x minus 3, which wouldn't make sense because it is x minus 4. So pretty basic question. 4, 3, 2, and 4, 3, and 2, like they're pretty basic, but 1 is pretty long, so you might get, and there's 4 variables, so you might want to reread that again. Other than that, everything else is like pretty simple. So out of that, I feel like you should be able to get a perfect score. Maybe you get like one of them wrong. Like I think for your response, you should get every single one right. The only one that I really think you might get wrong is either like 15 or 12. And since you have all that time, I feel like you could double check. So the first portion, I feel like you could get near perfect. So you might get 1 or 2 wrong. But not really that difficult. It's just because they're tricky. Anyways, let's transfer over to the calculator section now. So bust out your calculators. The formulas are on the bottom here, if you ever need to use them again. Question 1. The graph above shows Marilyn's distance from her campsite during a 3-hour period. She stopped for a 30-minute during her trip to have lunch. Based on the graph, which of the following time she finished lunch, which of the following is closest to the time she finished lunch and continued on to her hike? So we need to find. So when she took a lunch, that means the distance from her campsite has to be stagnant. So the only one that showed is like right here, from like between 1 and 2 p.m. So you see that line that's straight? Yeah, that's where it is. So we gotta find that point at the very end at the right. So like the closer to 1. So that's like 130 to 140. So yeah. So answer C is correct. Pretty basic question. Just interpreting a graph. The data above shows the distribution of age and gender for 25 people who entered a contest. If the contest winner would be selected at random, what is the probability that the winner will be either a female under age 40 or a male of 40 or older? So a female um age under age 40 is 8, and and a and a male of 40 or older is 2. So out of the total, which is 25. So that's 10 out of 25. So the answer is B, which is just a basic um chart interpretation question. Question 3. The graph above shows the number of music albums uh sales in millions each year from 1997 through 2009. Based on the graph, which of the following best describe the general trend in music album sales from 1997 to 2009? The sales generally if you look at the graph, it kind of looks like it's sloping down. So it's generally decreasing. So, So the sales generally remained steady from 1997 to 2009, increased from 2000, and then generally decreased, and then um uh generally decrease each year. Well, let's go through all the answers first. It generally increase each year, which is not true because it only increased here and then started going down. Generally decrease, which is not true because increase and then go down, so it has both. Um, Sales increase until 2000 2000. So this one start for each year from 1997. So 3 years would be right here. So yeah, it did generally increase into 2000 and then generally decreased. Remained steady, which it didn't. It never remained steady, except from maybe like years 3 to 4. So the answer is C. This is another basic graph interpretation. The table above shows some values of the linear function f. Which of the following defines f? So since this is a linear function, it must go through an equation like this: y equals mx plus b. So what we could just do is that we could just first find the slope. So let's just choose 2 points. So we have 1, -2, and 2, 1. So let's subtract that. So 1 minus -2 is 3, and 2 minus 1 is 1. So slope is 3, so m is equal to 3. Plug in 1 here, so that's 3. So 3 plus some kind of number equals -2. So this has to be like -5, which makes sense because then 6 minus 5 equals 1. So we gotta make sure that's right. That's 9 minus 5 equals 4. Makes sense. 4 times 3 is 12, minus 5 equals 7, so that makes sense. So the equation is 3x minus 5. Or using n, which is answer C. I usually use x and y. I really don't care for like writing variables even when they define it that way. Even if it's more precise, I just prefer x and y. It doesn't matter how you write it, just choose the correct answer. So the answer is just C. Question 5. At Lincoln High School, approximately 7% of the enrolled juniors and 5% of enrolled seniors were inducted into National Honor Society last year. If there is if there was 562 juniors and 602 seniors enrolled at Lincoln High School last year, which of the following is closest to the total amount of juniors and seniors at the high school last year who were inducted into the National Honor Society? Since it's 7% for juniors, let's just use our calculator. So 562 times 0.07 is about 39. And 602 for seniors, which is about 5%, is about 30. So the total is 69 because 39 plus 30 is 69. So the answer is B. Pretty basic question. Which of the following is the sum of the two polynomial equations above? So we just got to add the like terms. So 3x squared plus 5x squared is 8x squared. Negative 5x plus negative 2x is negative 7x. And plus 2m minus 6 is negative 4. So the answer is A. Question 7. If 3 divided by 5, 3/5 W is equal to 4, what is the value of W? So you want to multiply the right and left side by 5 or 3, so you could just get W by itself. So W over 4/3 times 5 over 3 is the same thing as W is equal to 20 over 9. So the answer is D. The average number of students per classroom at Central High School from 2000 to 2010 can be modeled by the equation y is 0.56x plus 27.2, where x represents the number of years since 2000 and y represents the average number of students per classroom. Which of the following best describes the meaning of 0.56 in the equation? 0.56 is the slope. So we gotta find out what the equation calculates for. the average number of students per classroom. So it's a 0.56, and it should be measuring it when time. So every single like year after 2000, the average number of students per classroom increased by 0.56. So uh, what does the estimated increase in average number of students per year? So that's what it is. The answer is C because it's talk about slope. Slope we use. So how I could tell is that it says each year. This is measured in time. So each year or per year. So that answer would be C. Okay, question 9. Nate walks 25 meters in 13.7 seconds. If he walks at the same rate, what's close to the distance he would do in 4 minutes? So let's use some dimensional analysis here. So he has 25 meters and 13.7 seconds. So how many seconds are a minute? So there's 60 seconds equals 1 minute. So minute. So you don't confuse the m's. You walk in 4 minutes. So now we have 4 minutes times 4 minutes because that's how much she's walking. So using your calculator, 25 divided by 13.7 times 60 times 4 is 438. So the closest number is B. So the answer is B. Huh? Erase this. Question 10. Question 10 and 11 refer to the following information. The chart above shows the approximations of the acceleration due to gravity in meters per second squared, m second squared, for the eight planes in planets in our solar system. The weight of an object on a given planet can be found using the equation W is equal to mg, where W is the weight measured in newtons, m is the mass of the object measured in kilograms, and g is the acceleration due to gravity of the planet. What is the weight of newtons of an object on Mercury with a mass of 90? So we're gonna have to look for W. The mass is 90, so we need to find the gravity of acceleration in Mercury. Mercury is 3.6. So using your calculator, 90 times 3.6 is 324. So the answer is D, which is pretty basic. So just look at the chart and you'll get the questions right. Question 11. An object on Earth has a weight of 150 newtons. On which planet with the same object has the approximate weight of 170 newtons? So the weight in Earth is 150. So we're gonna have to find mass. So what is the gravity of acceleration in Earth, which is 9.8? So 150 divided by 9.8. Leave that in calculator. That's about like 15.31. Right? But just keep up like the exact value in your calculator so you can use it later. So we're gonna have to find. So that's the mass. So you want this new mass would be transferred over to a new planet. So the mass times the gravity in that planet would be 170 newtons. Will weigh 170. So 170 divided by that weight will get about, the gravity will be about 11.11. So that answer is based on the graph, I mean the chart, the answer is Saturn. So Saturn is answer B. So 11 is B. Both were pretty easy. Which the function if a function has 5 distinct zeros, which of the following could represent the graph of f in the xy plane? So if it has 5 distinct zeros, that means it must cross the graph, the x-axis 5 times. So let's just count the for A. A is 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's wrong. B is 1, 2, 3, 4, which is also wrong. C is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which is wrong. And 12 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is right. So the answer is D. Pretty basic. 13. The equation above gives the height in feet of a ball, seconds after it's thrown straight, an initial speed of v per second from the height of k, which the following gives v in terms of h, t, and k. So we had to look for v. So h. So let's just minus everything we have from the to the other side. So minus negative 16t squared is just positive 16t squared, and minus k is equal to vt. So divide by t from both sides, you get this. So it's h minus k plus 16t squared divided by t. So that will be the same thing as d. Because you just simplify it out, it would just be the same thing. Because h minus k divided by t, and then 16t squared divided by t is just 16t. The answer is D. 14. The cost of using a telephone in a hotel meeting is 20 cents per minute. Which the following equation can represent the total cost in dollars for each of our use. So it's $20 per minute. I mean 20 cents per minute for 1 minute. So there's 60 minutes in 1 hour. So 0.2 times 60 will be, so this would be our new slope. So the total cost would just be, let's call this m, would just be m times the hours. So the answer would be A. This is 0.2 times 60, and that's what it is, 0.2 times 60, which what m is. Question 15. In order to determine if treatment X is successful in improving eyesight, a research survey was conducted from a large population of people with poor eyesight. 300 participants were selected at random. Half the participants were randomly assigned to treatment X, and the other hand did not take X. The resulting showed that the participant who took X had significant improved eyesight as compared to who did not receive X. Based on the design and results of the study, which of the is an appropriate conclusion? Uh, in stats, what we learn is this, that you can't always assume that the treatment is good, because there might be like these variable, like other reasons. So just because um because they're saying causation, I mean it's something like equals causation. It's not the same thing. So what it's trying to say is that just because like you change one variable and the other one changes doesn't mean it's because because that's the reason. Like like how do I can say an example? This might be wrong, but let's say hmm I don't know. Actually, I can't think of one right now, but basically is saying that it's probable and it's not like certain. It's not 100% certain. So treatment X is likely to improve the eyesight of the people who have poor eyesight. So A is might be true. Treatment X improves eyesight better than all other treatments, which is not true because we don't only tested this one, so we don't know it in comparison to others. Treatment X will improve the eyesight of anyone who takes it, which is not true because it's just likely that will improve it. We're not 100% certain. Treatment X will cause a substantial improvement on eyesight, which we don't know because it just said it had better results. So 15 is answer A. So have you ever seen these answers? It's just most likely. Anything is like it's probable. You're not certain. You're never 100% certain. So the answer is A. The graph of function f and g are shown above. With the following, does the values of f of x plus f of g is equal to 0? So, shoot. So f of x plus f of g is equal to 0. Which of the following values of x? So that means when you add the values from here plus the value of the other, it should equal 0. So what you need to do is that you need to find values where the points are like um kind of similar. So well, in a way, it would be like if f of x is equal to 2 and g of x at that point is negative 2, so they add up to 0. So we need to find points like that. So which of the values? So let's say a is negative 3. So based on that, 1, 2, 3, right here, both of them are negative 1, so that will be negative 2, so that's incorrect. So negative 2 here, that's 2, and that's negative 2, so B is correct. So the answer is B. Question 17 and 18 return to the following information. The quantity of product supplied at the market, produced in economic market are functions of the product. The functions above are the estimated supply and demand for the certain product. The SP gives the supplied and DP is the demand. Um, how will the quantity of the product supplied to the market change if the price of the product is increased by $10? Um, so we're looking for the supplied. If it increased by 10, that means the supply is increased. So increased by 10 means P increased by 10. So that means half of P, because of the slope is a half, means it's 5. So it increased by 5 units. So the answer is B. 18. At what price will the quantity of the product supplied to the market equal if the quantity will be equal to the market equal the quantity of product demanded by the market. So we have to say SP is equal to DP. So it will be 1 half P plus 40 is the same thing as 220 minus P. So add P to both sides, so that's 3 over 2P. And now subtract 40 from both sides, so that's 180. So P is equal to 180 times 2 over 3. So P is equal to 120. So the answer is B. Pretty basic linear question, but based on like information you're given. 19. Graphene, which is used in the manufacture of integrated circuits, is so thin that a sheet weighing 1 ounce can cover up to 7 football fields. It is if a football field has an area of 1 and 1/3 acres, how many acres should 48 ounce of graphene cover? So right now we have 48 ounces times, we want to change from ounces, so thin that 1 ounce could cover 7 football fields. So 7 football fields is 1 ounce. And now we need to convert from football fields. So we have 1 and 1/3 acre equals 1 football field. So so using your calculator, 48 times 7 times 1 and 1/3, we get 448. So the answer closest is C, with 450. So 19 is C. 20. Michael swam 2,000 yards on each of the 18 days. The scatterplot shows his swim time 4 and corresponding heart rate for each swim. The line of the best fit for the data is shown. For the swim that took 34 minutes, Michael actual heart rate was about how many beats per second less than the heart rate for the line of best fit. So for his 34-minute one, which is right here, his heart rate was about since it's going by a scale of 2, that's about 148. So his actual heart rate was 148. So his heart rate was about how many times less? So we'll look for the line of best fit for 34. It's at 150. So best fit is 150. So how many less is it? It's 150 minus 148, which is equal to 2. So the answer is B. Okay, we're 2/3 the way done with the multiple choice. And so far, almost every single one is easy. Which of the following 4 types of saving accounts plans would yield, which options would yield exponential growth of money in the account? Each successive year, 2% of the initial account is added to the value of the initial savings is added to the value of the account. So this is gonna be linear because it says initial. If it just says 20% of the savings because it adds like per successive year, then that's the answer. But A is linear, so that's not right. Each year, 1.5 of the initial saving account and $100 is added to the value of the account. This is also another linear. They just add 100 more each year. Okay. Each successive year, 1% of the current value is added to the value of the account, which is true because of the current value, so it's exponential. So each successive year, 100 is added to the account. So this is also just linear. So A, B, and D are all linear. It can't be the initial amount, and it can't be like some constant is added. It has to be 1% of the current amount. So it would be like, let's say you have $100, right? So you have let's say a 10% increase. So 10% of 100 would be 110, and then the next year it's be 10% of the 110 because that's a new current. So that will be 11. So that 121, and then next year it will be 10% of the 121. So that's what it means for C. So the answer is C. 22. The sum of the three numbers is 855. One of the numbers x is 50% more than the sum of the other two numbers. What's the value of x? Let's say you have um so one of the numbers is x, and let's say the other ones are a and b, right? So a plus b plus x is 855, and one of the numbers x is 50% more than the sum of the other two numbers. So it's 50% is 1.5 a plus b. So what's the value of x? So where we have x, so we have 1.15. So if you substitute x into here, that would be 1.5a plus 1.5b plus all that would be 2.5a plus 2.5b is equal to 855. So a plus b, because you just divide both sides by 2.5, is 855 divided by 2.5 is 342. So we already have a plus b. Plug it in back into the thing, to our equation, our second equation on the bottom, which second equation on the top. 342 times 1.5 is 513. So the x is 513. So the answer is B. 23. The angles shown are acute, and sine of A is equal to the cosine of B. If A equals 4x minus 22 and B equals 6 A minus 13, what's the value of K? So sine of A is equal to equals to cosine of B. If you know your trig properties, what let's just draw like a regular triangle, right? So I'll show you why this is true. Let's say this is a right triangle. Always, trigs is always with right triangles. So we have angle B, right? So angle B is, let's say, A over C, and this is B, and we'll call this B. So sine of A is just A over C. Now, if you take the cosine of B, it's also A over C. So that's why it's what's it's saying. So basically, these two angles, if you take the sine of this, it's just this. It's a over c, and b is also cosine of b is also a over c. So that's what it's also saying for question 23. So basically, we need to find the relationship between a and b. Since this is a right triangle, that means b plus a has to be equal to 180 plus the right angle. So a plus b has to be 90 because the right triangle is already 90 degrees, right? So first we already know that a plus b is 109 is 90 degrees. So sine of a has to equal cosine of 90 minus a because a plus b is equal to 90, right? So a, which is 4x minus 22, plus b, which is 6k minus 13, is equal to 90. So this has to be true. So this is 10k minus 35 is equal to 90. So 10k is equal to 125. So k is equal to 12.5. So the answer is C. This might be a difficult question because you have to like understand like your trig properties. There is an identity called this, and it'll be the I forgot what it was called. It's just a conversion. So it says sine of angle x is the same thing as cosine of 90 minus x. So that is our identity. You can also switch it so it's like cosine of x is equal to like the sine of 90 minus x. So it's the same thing. So that's question 23 is semi-difficult or kind of difficult. 24. Question: Mr. Cole has a beaker containing n milliliters of solutions described to distribute to his students in his chemistry class. If he gives each student 3 milliliters of solutions, he will have 5 milliliters left over. In order to give each student 4 milliliters of solution, he will need an additional 21. How many students are there in the class? So let's say the number of students, we'll call it S. So 4 times, let's go with the first one, which is 3 milliliters per student. So he has 3 milliliters per second, milliliters per student, plus the 5 additional left over will equal to his N. And if he gives 4 per student, then he needs an additional 21. So he has to minus 21 to equal N, because that's how much he needs, because he needs the additional 21. How many students are in the class? So we want to find S. So we want to take out N. So multiply the first equation by -1 to make -3S minus 5 equals -N. Add those together. So S minus 26 is equal to 0. So S is equal to 26. So the answer is D. Okay. Question 25. A grain silo is built from 2 right cylindrical cones and a right cylindrical, circular cylinder with internal measurements represented by the figure above. Of the following, which is the closest to the volume of the grain silo in the cubic feet? So first, we need to find the volume of the cylinders. So let's just do one cylinder at a time. The volume of the cone is pi radius squared times height times a third. So the volume would be pi. The radius is 5, so 5 squared times the height, which is also 5, times 1/3. Since there is no, wait, let me calculate this first. So 5 squared times 5 times 1/3. Use your calculator. Is squared times 5 times 1/3 is 125 over 3. Now you multiply that answer by 2 because you want to have because you want to have both the cones. So you get 250 over 3. And now you need to find the volume of the cylinder. The volume of a cylinder is just without the 1/3. So it's just pi radius squared times height. The volume would be pi. The radius is 5 because it's shown right here. So it's 5 squared times the height, which is 10. So that is, use your calculator, 5 squared times 10 is 250. So the volume is 250 pi. So 250, so you add them together, so 250 divided by 3 plus 250 is 1000 divided by 3 pi. And now you just multiply the pi and you get 1047.2. So the answer is D. Okay. Just 5 more multiple choice to go. Pretty easy question. You have the formulas on the top page if you ever forgot the volume and for the cone and cylinders. Question 26. The line determined by points 2k and k over 23 passes through the origin, which the following could be the value of k. Since it passes through the origin, that means the equation has to be something like this: y equals mx, because there's no b. Because if it has a b, that means it has a y-intercept, but it goes through the origin. So they say k is equal to 2m, and 32 is equal to km. So that thing is true. So now we just had to plug in one of the equations to the other. So let's plug in k. So that would be 32 is equal to 2m squared. So 16 is equal to m squared. So m has to equal to 4 or negative 4. Which is, so the answer is B. So, it's pretty easier question. Just plug in your variables and you'll get it right. I mean, wait. Let me check this again. Goes to the origin, so it goes to 2m is equal to k, and km is equal to 32. So if I divide that, that's 2k equals k divided by 32. Oh, sorry, I did the math wrong. Okay, let me redo this question for you. So it has to go through y equals mx. So it has to go through 2 and k. That would be k is equal to 2m. And it's going to go through k32. So km is equal to 32. So plugging in k into here, you get uh 2m squared is equal to 32. So m is equal to 4 or minus 4, uh, which is right the first time. I solved for m and I forgot to solve for a k. K would be equal to 2m. So it's either so k is equal to 8 or negative 8. So the answer is C, because it has 8. Sorry about that. Didn't read the entire thing. And that's why you have like what you watched my first video, like my process step. You have this will be in the second step to check your answer if you did the math right, because you might have made like a math mistake, so you may have misread the question. A rectangle was altered by increasing its length by 10% and decreasing its width by p%. If these alterations decrease the area of the rectangle by 12%, what is the value of p? So let's say you have the length and the width. The length and the width of that will multiply to the area, and now you decrease the length by 10%, so it's 90% of the original length times and you you increase it by 10%, so it's 10% of the length times, and you decrease it by p%, so it's 1 minus p% times w is equal to, you decrease the area by 0.82%. No, by 12%. So that means it's 0.88 of the area. Because 1 minus 12% is 0.88. So now you have 1.1 times 1 minus p times L and W, which is equal to A, is equal to 0.88A. Now you just divide by A from both sides, so these are out. So 1.1 times 1 minus P is 0.88. So 0.88 divided by 1.1 is about 0.8. So 1 minus P is 0.8. So P is 0.2. So you decrease it by 20%. So the answer is C. Pretty basic question. It just has to deal with percentages and proportions, kind of. 28. In planning maintenance for city infrastructure, a civil engineer estimates that starting from the present, the population of the city will decrease by 10% every 20 years. If the present population of the city is 50,000, which the following expressions represent the engineer's estimate of the population of the city 2 years from now. So the population of the city would decrease by 10% every single 20 years. So what it's telling me is that it'll be decrease at 10%, would mean 1 minus 10%, which is 0.9, every single 20 years. So it'll be this divided by 20. Because in 20 years, it would decrease by that much. So the initial amount is 50K. So this would be our equation, which is the same as answer B. I mean, is it? Oh, sorry, I read that wrong. It's the answer D. I thought the 1 was a 9. Okay. So just had to look for a similar equation and just write it out. This is just developing your own exponential equation based on like the information. 29. The incomplete table above summarizes the number of left-handed students and right-handed students by gender for 8th grade students at Kinsale Middle School. There are 5 times as many right-handed females. So let's say right females. There are 5 times as many right-handed females are there left-handed females. So 5 times left-handed females. Okay. And there are 9 times as many right-handed males. So right-handed males. As there are left-handed males. If there is a total of 18 left-handed students, so left-handed is 18, and there's a total of 102 right-handed, which of the following is closest to the probability that the right-handed student selected at random is female? So based on the information here, so we have right-handed. Let's just draw this in chart form so it'll be easier to understand. Okay, 1, 2. So this one's 18 and this one's 122. Sorry. So it says females. So right-handed is X. Let's just call it X. And the left-handed females is 5X. I mean, right-handed is 5X. Because let's say left-handed is X. That means right-handed is 5X. For females. And for males, we have Y. So we have Y left-handed males. That means we have 9 Y-handed females. So so X plus Y has to equal 18, and 5X plus 9Y has to equal to 122. So you multiply the first equation by, let me erase everything first. We have not enough room. Okay, so we multiply the first equation by -5. So you -5x minus 5y is -50. So you add it by the second equation, you get for y, so 5x, -5x plus 5x is 0, and -5y plus 9y is 4y, and -50 plus 122 is 72. So y is equal to 18. So x has to equal to 0. I mean, oops, sorry, I wrote that wrong. I erased it and I thought it was 10. This is x plus y is equal to 18. So you multiply by -5, you get -90. So that will get -5x would be 0, and then negative plus 4y is equal to 32. So y is equal to 8. So that means x has to equal to 10. So based on the chart, you just plug in the information. So it says if there are, what is the closest to probability that a right-handed student selected at random is female? So right-handed student is 122, and it's female. It's 5 times x, which is 50. So it's 50 over 122, which is about 0.41. So the answer is A. Right? Question 30. 3x plus b is equal to 5x minus 7, and 3y plus c is equal to 5y minus 7. In the equation above, b and c are constants. If b is c minus 1/2, which of the following is true? So let's write that first. So b is c minus 1/2. So plus c minus 1/2 is equal to 5x minus 7. And so that simplifies to a c minus 1/2 plus a 7 equals to 2x. So that would be 14, 13. So that's 2c minus 13 over 2 divided by other 2 is 4. So that's what x is. So we need to find y. So subtract y from both 3y from both sides. You get c is equal to 2y minus 7. So, oops. C minus 7 is equal to 2y. So c minus 7 divided by 2 is equal to y. So, now let's just get this into the same denominator. So that would be, let's multiply the top and bottom by 2. So this would be the same thing as saying 2c minus 14 divided by 4, which equals y. So as you see, x and y would just be negative 1/4 less than x. So x is y minus 1/4, which is not true because um wait, x is y minus 1/4. Um which I think is true. Wait, x is, yeah, so that's true. The answer is A. Yeah. So 30 is answer A. This is it has to do with 1/4, and none of the other answers is 1/4. The work might be a little bit wrong there, and it might be kind of like all around the place, but it's correct. Right in the right place for response. Um, Tickets for a school talent show cost $2 per student and $3 for adults. So $2 per student plus $3 for adults. If Chris spends at least $11 but no more than $14 on X student tickets. Oh, so sorry. So for $2 on student tickets, he spends at least 11, so it's greater than or equal to that, but no more than 14. So less than 14, less than or equal to 14. If on student tickets and one adult ticket, on X student tickets and one adult ticket. So one adult ticket is $3, so you gotta add $3 in there. So add $3. What is one possible value for X? So subtract 3 from both sides, that's 8. And that's 11. Divide by 2 is 4. R divided by 2 is 5.5. So usually when I choose this, I choose a integer that's between those two numbers. So I'll choose 5. So the answer I'll say is 5. But like all the possible answers from at least 4 is less than X is less than 5.5. The only answers for 4 and 5 because it has to be integers because you can't have like 4.5 students, you know. So you have to it's either 4 or 5. But I usually choose 5 because it's the middle. The table above shows the list of age, ages of the first 12 United States presidents when they began their term in office. According to the table, what was the mean age of these presidents at the beginning of their term? So the mean age is that you gotta sum all the ages up. So it's 57 plus 62 plus 58 plus 58 plus 59, 58, 62, 55, 68, 51, 50, and 65. So that's about 703. So 703 for 12 presidents is about 55.6. I mean 58.6. So that's the answer. Pretty basic. Just look at the chart and you'll get it right. In the expression above, it's written in form ax squared plus bx plus c, where a, b, and c. What is the value of b? So let's combine the terms first. So negative 3x squared minus negative 2x squared is negative 5x squared. 5x plus 4x is 9x. And negative 2 plus 2 is 0. So you have nothing there. So b will be equal to 9. Because that's in front of the x term, because the b is in front of the x. So pretty basic. 34. In a circle with center 0, central angle AOB has a measure of 5 pi over 4 radians. The area of the sector formed by the central angle is what fraction of the area of the circle? So I'll give you a visual diagram first. Let's say we draw a circle with center 0, and we'll draw a triangle right here. So that's central angle AOB. AOB. That's the angle. And this one is 5 pi over 4. So the entire angle of a circle is 2 pi. So the area formed by is what fraction of the area of the circle? The area of the section. So it'll be 5 pi over 4 divided by 2 pi. Um, would be equal to 5/8. So that's the answer, 5/8. Pretty basic if you know your units, unit circle, or you know just radians, because it's out of 2 pi. It's set it on the first page where it's giving you all the formulas. So it's just 5 pi over 4 divided by 2 pi. So pretty basic question. An online store receives so the answer was 5/8 if you forgot. And an online store receives customer satisfaction ratings between 0 and 100 inclusive. In the first 10 ratings the store received, the average the ratings was 75. What's the least value the store can receive for the 11th rating and still be able to have an average of 85 for the first 20 um the first wait what is the least value the store can receive for the 11th rating and still be able to receive an average of at least 80 for the first 20 ratings? So what is the least amount? So for the 10, let's say the total amount of ratings they have. So for the first 10 ratings, is the average was 75. So it's 10 times 75 plus the least amount that we had to add for 11th. That means there's 9 more ratings, which so let's say the highest amount that they could give is 100. So it's 100. All over the 20 amount has to equal 85. So using your calculator, 85 times 20 minus 9 times 100 minus 10 times 75 is equal to 50. So L's answer is 50. If you don't understand why I chose 100, it's because uh the this is the least amount possible. So let's say like you at least could the highest amount you could get is 100. So let's say the least amount you could get is like if you get a really low amount, but you satisfy you kind of unbalance that amount by having a bunch of like the maximum amount. So then it kind of equals out. So you have like this median. So the same thing occurs. So you just have like 9 of 100s. That's basically what it is. So it's a pretty basic logic if you think about it. If you don't understand, you could just know that's true. So 36. In the xy plane, if a point with a coordinate a, b lies in the solution set of the system above, which of the inequalities above what is the maximum of b? So we need to look for the maximum. So let's just draw this out first. We'll just think about it. So we have negative 15x and 3000, so something like this. And 5x, something like this. Sorry, it's supposed to go through the origin. The straight line. So 5x is supposed to be greater than y. So it has to be anything above here. And this one has to be above, so anything above here. So here and here would mean any answer here. So um what's the maximum value of b? So has the coordinate value of AB. Uh, wait, might have gotten the area wrong. Is Y, so let's say that's like you put 1 and you have 5. So you have 1 and 6. Wait, no, 5. Yeah, so no, it's area below. So this one is all below here, but this line is all below here, and all this is below here. So the maximum, so all the area solution sets here. So this would be the maximum point. See, that makes sense logically. That's why I thought it was wrong the first time. So you gotta find where it intersects. So that's basically our image. So let's say y is 5x is equal to negative. Let me erase the picture. I need room. Sorry. Um, 5x is equal to negative 15x plus 3000. Now you add negative 15x to both sides, so 20x is equal to 3000. So x is 150, I think. So that's 300. Yeah, so x is 150. So we need to plug in x equals 150 to find the y. So 5 times 150, because I'm using the second equation, that gives me 750. So the answer is 750, which is B. See, just draw a picture out for these questions. 37 and 38 refer to the following. If a shopper enters a store at an average rate of our shoppers per minute in each stay in the store for an average time of t minutes, the average number of shoppers in the store n at any time is given by the formula n is equal to RT. This relationship is known as Little's law. The owner of good deals stores estimate that during the business hours, an average of 3 people per minute enter the store, and each of them stay an average of 45 minutes. This store uses the Little law to estimate that there's 45 shoppers in the store at any time. Question 37. Little's law can be applied to any part of the store, such as a particular department or the checkout lines. The store's owner determines that during business hours, approximately 84 shoppers per hour make a purchase, and each of these shoppers spend an average of 5 minutes in the checkout line. At any time during the business hours, how many shoppers on average are waiting in the checkout line to make a purchase at the good deal store? We could use the equation right above here that says n is the amount of average shoppers per any time, but now it's going to be applied to any part because it says right here in the first line of the question they could be applied to the checkout line. So it'll be n is equal to r, which is the rate that's increasing, times t, the time that it stays. So right now we're looking for n. So we have 84 shoppers per hour. So 84 shoppers for 1 hour. Sorry. So and each spend about an average of 5 minutes. So we have to convert the hours to minutes. So 1 hour is equal to 60 minutes, and we have 5 minutes. So this will count as the rate, and this will count as the time. So 54 divided by 60 times 5 is 7. So n is equal to 7. So the answer is 7. It might seem really hard, but if you just read it through, you'll get it right. There's just a lot because there's like a paragraph up here and a paragraph down here. There's a lot of work to do. I mean, a lot of reading to do, and you might get it wrong, so you might want to double check it. The owner of the good deal store opens a new store across the street. For the new store, the owner estimates that during business hours, an average of 90 shoppers per hour enter the store, and each of them stay an average of 12 minutes. The average number of shoppers in the new store at any time is what percent less than the average number of shoppers in the original store at the time. So we're gonna have to use the equation again. So n is equal to RT. So we need to find n for the new one, which is 90 shoppers per hour, 1 hour. So and 1 hour is equal to 60 minutes, and they stay for 12 minutes. So we're gonna have to look for what this is. So 90 divided by 60 times 12 is 18. So the new store is 18 shoppers at the store at any time. So the question is asking what percent less than the average number of shoppers in the store at the time. So we're gonna have to look for 48 to 18 versus 18. So how much less is that? So 48 minus 18. 45 minus 18 is 27. So what percent of 27 is 45? So 27 divided by 45 is 60%. So the answer is 60%. Question 37 and 38 is really long, so you might want to like recheck it because you might read it wrong and you might get it wrong. So that's 2 questions right there that you might get wrong. 36 and 35, they're pretty basic if you just know how to do them. 34, if you just know what radians are and they're given on the top of the sheet anyways, so you might get this one right. It's like a minute or so for these type of questions. Except for like 37, 38, it makes you like 2 minutes or 3 because it has a lot of reading. 33, 32, and 31 are all pretty basic. Should be like a minute or so. 30, And 29, there probably is a lot of work, so you might take it like a minute or two, but it's not that hard. You will get it right. 28, um, 27, and 26, they're all pretty basic. Just spend time on it and you know the general gist of how to do it, then it's right. So like a minute or less on that. 25, uh, 24, and 23, basically just tests you on those specific content. Not really that hard, so like a minute or less. 20, 21, 22, all pretty basic also, so a minute or less. You might want to check like 17 and 18 because you might have read it wrong because there's paragraphs here too. Also with 19, but they should be like a minute or so. 16, you might want to double check just to make sure you're right. Same with 15 because anything but like a lot of reading you want to check, so those like a minute or so. 12, 13, 14, they're all pretty basic, so a minute or less. 11, 10, pretty basic. If you just look at the chart, then it's fine. Not that hard. 9, 8, and 7 are all pretty basic too, a minute or less. 6, 5, 4, and 3 are pretty basic. Just basic SAT questions that you could answer. And 1 and 2 are also pretty basic. So out of the only questions, the only ones I feel like has a really high chance that you might get wrong in is like 15 maybe, but I'm not gonna count that one because it just tests you on stats. But now that you know it, just know for sure that nothing is 100% certain. It's always just likely or least likely, you know. So these are not really that hard. Not really that hard. Not really hard. Hmm. Um, anything that's really hard. Like you might get like 30 wrong. It has a lot of work to do. Just might, and you might get 37 or 38 wrong. So that's like 3 questions right there. So not really that difficult. So I'll say in the first section. Okay, let's review for like for the non-calc section. You might get 1 wrong, and for the calculator section, you might get like 2 to like 3 wrong. This is not really that hard, but like it tests your knowledge and your reading capabilities more in this test. So that's the only reason. Like there's just a lot of reading. So you might get to like 3 to 4 wrong overall. So that's so you might get like a 760 to like 760 plus. So a 750 is possible, but I can't guarantee you that. But it's still kind of easy test. If you just read carefully, then you'll get everything right, I think. Now all 3 like practice exams are like covered. The next video will probably be the last and the final video in the math SAT series. So watch out for that one, and that will be the review of like everything, including the practice exams and like all the content. Well, thanks for watching, and I'll see you at the next math record video.